we do find ourselves scattered to different parts of the country and the world, we can feel our community a little bit more sparse than other times of the year. For a community that has a tumbleweed Tuesday, startup Sunday, which is what many congregations call this first Sunday after Labor Day, feels fitting. It is for us an opportunity to reconnect, to recommit to each other, to our community. We do that with our water communion and this year, a conversation about covenant. Each week as Unitarian Universalists, we come together in worship to honor what is of worth. In this hour, we pause the everyday rush and flow of our lives in reverence and in thanksgiving to connect with what is sacred, to remember our commitments to each other and to the world. We are committed to healing the pain of our past and our present. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, whatever your name for the sacred, you are welcome to bring your full self here. I am the Reverend Kimberly Quinn Johnson. Our musician this morning is Stephen Skoldberg. Our tech hosts are Monica Sasada, who is also our receptionist, apparently, when the phone rings on Sunday morning. And helping you on Zoom is Kent Martin. If you are joining us on Zoom, you have access to closed captioning. If you are joining us here in the meeting house, we have hearing assisted devices if that is helpful for you. However you are joining us, we invite you into this hour free from distractions. It will be a good time to silence your electronic devices if you have them. There will be a link for the order of service and our guest book. If you're joining us on Zoom, I have I actually have two announcements for you this week. This Sunday after service, we are doing a new to UU class. If you are entirely new, if you are curious, if you have been coming for years and would like a refresher, especially if you want to be able to talk to other people about what Unitarian Universalism is and is all about. Join us at noon. We'll do that new to UU class. And then next week at noon, we will be thinking about and crafting our UU elevator pitch. Can you, in 30 seconds, 45, if it's a long one, maybe a minute, tell people what Unitarian Universalism is? That's next week at noon. But for now, let's see who's here in the room. Do we have any visitors who would like to introduce yourselves?
Catherine Cruz, we're from Dayton, Ohio, and members of Miami Valley UU Church. I am also a minister at another local congregation downtown Dayton, and we're delighted to be here with our cousin Tip and his wife. Thank you.
Welcome. I'm going to repeat for people who can't hear you on Zoom but can hear me. Welcome Tom and Kathy Cruz from Dayton, Ohio, guests of Tip and Grania. Anybody else? If you are joining us for the first time, we welcome you to sign our guest book. We are so happy that you are here. Let's take a moment to greet each other with a handshake or an elbow rub, someone you haven't yet greeted this morning. I went to an Episcopalian service recently, and this passing of the peace extended for more than 5 minutes. Even I, at some point, started to think, are we done? Are we going home now? There is more time after service during our fellowship hour to talk and hear more from each other. Let's begin by lighting our chalice. I have some words, you have some words in your order of service, and I wonder if there's someone who might actually light the physical chalice for us. Thank you. These words from Gregory Pelly, and so we gather from the ebb and flow of our lives, thirsty for connection to ourselves, to others, thirsty for connection to the larger life. You have words in your order of service. As we light, may all who gather here be filled with joy and hope, filled with compassion and love. Here may we be filled so that we may pour ourselves out into the world. Our first song to sing together in your gray hymnal is number 145, As Tranquil Streams.
As tranquil streams that meet and merge and flow as one to seek the sea, our kindred thoughts and tonight to build a church that shall be free. Free from the bonds that pull the mind to narrow thought and lifeless greed. Free from social will that fails to serve the cause of humanity. A freedom that reveres the past, but trusts the dawning future more, and bids the soul in search of truth venture boldly explore. Prophetic church, the future waits your liberating ministry. Go forward above proclaim the truth that makes us free.
Our water communion is a distinctly Unitarian Universalist ritual. In the 1980s, it was created by Carol McDade of Spirit of Life, which we will sing later, UU leader, and Lucille Shuck Longview. They created this ritual for the Women and Religion Continental Convocation of UUs. They wanted a ritual that would speak to the ways that we come from different places, different perspectives, and add all of our energy to this one common community, this one common faith. And so if you have brought water to share, please do share it from into our common bowl and in 10 words or less what your experience around this water evokes for you. If you did not bring water to share, many of us did not. That's okay. We have water for you to pour into our common bowl and still in 10 words or less what the experience of this water evokes for you. And if you're joining us online, please let us know and one of us will pour the water for you. Yeah, please. It would be helpful if you had a handheld mic, probably.
I think if anything, water represents your soul, your feeling, your surroundings, the life that you have, and the soul that surrounds the bodies of the water, of freedom, of liberance, or the hmm, the wiggle room of not worrying about stuff, and comfort for home.
Thank you. Now my secondary microphone is not working. So luckily I have a tertiary microphone. Anybody else?
So my mother was a second generation Swedish immigrant, taught me to swim naked in the morning. And this is the water that I've swum in, pools, lakes.
Memories of Star Island and a family reunion in Michigan. I think that's 10.
I would like to celebrate all of the bodies of water that I have sailed. I hope I can remember. The big ocean, the Caribbean, the Indian Ocean, the Hudson River. That's
This represents the pristine waters of Lake Wannocksink, where our family enjoyed frolicking, swimming, canoeing, kayaking this summer.
This water is from the Seine when I was visiting Paris last month.
This is the rainwater, the spring and early summer that made our gardens amazing this year.
Yes, or some of it. It's enough space. We can pour a lot of it.
This is water collected at the bay at Long Beach this morning.
So you'll know afterwards we'll use our water to water the grass around our memorial garden.
This water is from Big Fresh Pond and the house that I have enjoyed since 1962, which my parents built. And as a lifelong Unitarian, I have all those values in that house and the lake. And I'm leaving this empty jar for the water of all the people in the world that don't have clean water and that don't have the joy of a lake and fresh water they can see every day.
This water represents my walks on the beach all summer long. What a delight, and how lucky we are to be so close to the most wonderful beaches in the world.
This comes from the Sound, or could. And We've gone across on the ferry. We've gone across on the ferry lots of times, sitting on top and asleep or reading, calmest, sort of out of the norm time. So it represents peace, even though there's not a great deal in the world.
To the water that is the life within us.
Crooks, brooks, river, oceans, and the best drinking water in the world, Cisowianka, better than Fiji, better than Evian, Cisowianka. In Poland.
Had I known we were coming, I would have brought water from our own river, which flows through the middle of Dayton, Ohio, the Great Miami River.
Do we have anyone joining us online who would like to share? As we continue to figure out the clicking, I will invite you to seal our communion together with the unison words in your order of service. I'll read the italicized and you the plain text. As drops of rain that find each other and build to become a track, a rivulet, a stream, a river, a sea. On this shared passage toward an unknown ocean and eternity. As ever, may your roots grow deep. May your branches spread far. May you find this world to be a wonderful place with peace and calm and serenity and clean water for everyone, and leave it better for those who follow. Here in our meeting house and online, we collect two offerings. The pink basket that will circulate in a moment collects offerings for our general fund. They're here on the table, the baskets right here. The blue basket is an offering for our Helping Hand Fund, which supports the congregation's work beyond these walls. To organizations in our community doing good work, a third of that goes to our minister's discretionary fund, which supports individuals in immediate need. If you are joining us online, you can use the link in your chat. You can also here in person use the QR code on your order of service. However you give in a moment, once Stephen starts playing music, your gifts will be generously received. Greatly, your generous gifts will be gratefully received.
The simple beauty of a stream lays my mind to rest. The endless sound of water is racing past the stones. A shifting light between the trees makes me want to cry. Falling tears on the rocks are washed away by the winter's melting snow. Ooh.
It's indicated in your order of service, but I intended to announce, draw attention to, that is an original composition by Stephen. We are, yes. We are very blessed to have your gifts and talents with us. And a perfect song as we enter into this moment of reflection and prayer and care for our souls, our community, and our world. This morning, two things are happening. This is one of our monthly multi-generational services, which is a little more interactive. There's a little more happening. And so instead of lighting candles, we will be dropping stones in water. And since we have done our water communion, we will be dropping stones into that water. I did not bring water to this communion, but I did bring stones, tiny pebbles that I combed from our beaches out here. And so if you have a joy or a sorrow or a concern to share, I invite you to come to, again, I'll get you a microphone, to drop your stone into our collected water. And if you are joining us online, you should be able to unmute yourself. We would love to hear what you have to share. And covenant and mission. We had a retreat, all building up to a retreat this fall when we will together sharpen our mission. In March, we, in a service together, talked about vision, and we filled out postcards, which are hanging in my office, not on these walls as I had intended, where we each individually and in small groups got to articulate our vision for this congregation. Vision, mission, and covenant. Our vision tells us why. Why are we here? What is the world, what is the community that we would like to see? Our mission is what we will do about it, but our covenant is the how. How will we be together as we go about this lofty work? And so today we get to spend some time thinking about our covenant. And so I have a fist to five question for you. A fist to five. How well would you say you know our covenant? With fist being, I didn't even know we had a covenant. And five being, our covenant is perfect. How well do you know our covenant? You can just hold it. We want it so you can see each other. Okay. So my second question, glad I asked that one first. Fist to five. How effective do you think our covenant is? Where a fist is not at all, we may as well not even have a covenant. It is like the Wild West over here. And a five is, it is perfectly effective. Our covenant keeps us in loving relationship with each other. So fist to five, how effective is our covenant? Okay. So I think when we talked about knowing it, there's lots of twos and threes, some zeros. I don't think any fives. And on the effectiveness, inexplicably, we seem to think it's a little more effective than known. Some threes and fours, and a lot of ones. Our covenant is our promise of, our commitment to how we will behave with each other. It tells us what we can expect from each other. It offers guidance for how to reconcile when we don't meet those expectations. It tells us what we can expect, and it offers guidance when we don't meet those expectations. And so rather than imagine it as a set of rules for how others should behave towards me, a more useful way to understand our covenant is that it is my promise of how I will behave towards others. Often when we talk about covenant, when it comes up at all, it is because someone feels that somebody else did not follow the covenant because you have been wronged. But we know that we actually have very little control over anybody else's behavior. We have control over our behavior. And so it does us very little good in a loving relationship to make a lot of rules about how somebody else should behave. We can, though, make some commitments and promises about how we will behave. And so our covenant is our promise of how we will, my promise of how I will behave towards you. And an effective one is one that can be known, one that is known and lived, one that is concise, a concise statement of my commitment to each other, our commitment to each other. And it's useful to remind ourselves of those covenants in times of transition, in times of stress, in times when we want to reconnect and renew. It guides our behavior in a way that prevents ruptures. Ideally, we know our covenant so well. It is so deeply lived in our hearts that it prevents us from doing the things that will hurt others. But we also know that rupture is a part of life. It is a part of living in community with other people. At least conflict is a part of living in community with other people. And so when our covenant does not prevent rupture, it is our guide to bring us back together when it has been. Not to prevent conflict all the time. I think a congregation, a community without any conflict is at best, a myth. At worst, it is a community with conflict boiling and simmering and rumbling under the surface, ready to explode. And so rather than try to do all that we can to avoid conflict, I want to recommend that we try to live in a way that encourages healthy conflict, that builds and strengthens relationship. When we don't talk about it, it eats away at our core. It paralyzes us, making us so afraid to do a thing lest we erupt our conflict, topple our tower. Healthy conflict is when we can address the problem, not the person. The problem, not the person. Healthy conflict sees us as a team. So then rather than having conflict that is me against you, a healthy way that we can address conflict that strengthens our team and our relationship is to imagine that it is not me against you or me against you or against you, but that it is us against the problem. Because we know in a world, in a community where we are coming from so many different places and with so many different perspectives, we think that is the thing that makes us so beautiful. I think that is the thing that makes us so beautiful and potentially powerful. Our covenant is a way that we are able to embrace and effectively live all of those perspectives, all of those different needs and desires and ways of being. And so we're going to do an activity, our giant Jenga tower here. I have never played Jenga, so I want to ask, who has played? Okay, we've got just two. Really? Only two of us have played? The three of us. Oh, okay. Hold on. We're gonna have Jenga ringers. So we're going to imagine, this is where it would be helpful if I had my handheld mic, but I don't. So this is an activity. It invites you to stand up and to move around. But we're going to imagine that our covenant is, or our community in covenant is this Jenga tower. And I'm going to invite you, each of you in turn, you can maybe take out more than one if you need to. Each of the blocks is a conflict that you have experienced here. Maybe if you have never experienced any conflict here, it is a conflict that you have witnessed. I don't believe there's anybody who has never experienced any conflict here. And you can share, but you can also not if it feels too close and too tender to share in this space. And so we're going to imagine that each block is a conflict. And we're just going to play a little Jenga with our conflict blocks. And I have never done this before. So we're just going to see how it goes. Not going to go anywhere if nobody leaves the chair.
Do you need this?
Okay. Are we on? Oh, so you can tell us what it is or you cannot.
So just for context, the goal in Jenga, you just go around the circle, people take blocks out until it gets so unstable that the last block taken out, the tower crashes. And we'd have to take out a lot of blocks before that's going to happen, I think, this morning. But I have a block to take out that, okay, that was hurt feelings over a botched and perhaps miscommunication on a singing group in the congregation that that I should have been, that I've tried to repair.
Here, you put it back on top somewhere.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, super briefly, very briefly, if you have a conflict or you cannot have a conflict that you want to share. And I might hold it so that you have two hands.
I would say my conflict would be from a irritable woman at home.
You're not supposed to, but I'm your minister, so it's my job to keep your towers intact.
I have two. The first one is, as the chair of the Social Justice Committee, we were invited to meet with the local Quakers to have a joint protest against the war, some war. So I was to chair the meeting. Well, I was in a dilemma because I had this meeting with Unitarians and Quakers, but the Quakers wouldn't talk and the Unitarians wouldn't shut up. That was my dilemma. My other conflict is this. I spent a Saturday with the congregation and hired covenant person to help us develop a covenant. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I thought a covenant was common courtesy. I let a bunch of New Yorkers tell me how to be polite. I'm just being humorous. I do appreciate our covenant. Now I have to
Put it somewhere on top. That's the easy part. Top, no, top. You can do anything that you want.
So I'm going to, this is kind of an easy way out. I'm going to do this one in Tuna's memory about the stairs and the ramp. And that was a big issue for a long time. And look at the result was quite beautiful. So this is for Tuna.
I'm blocking our camera a little bit, I think. That was my very first meeting with this congregation. You were talking about that ramp.
So actually, I have two conflicts. One of them I'm really, really desperate to solve, but I'm not going to share it here because I don't want the rest of you to worry about it until Jerry can take care of it. And he deserves to hear it from me in person. Okay, so there's that. I don't know where I'm going to get this other block. But the other one I can't share either because it's just too much emotion involved. but we'll share it later. It'll come up.
Well done. I also appreciate your discretion. Anybody else want to take a aim at our tower?
Having never played Jenga, I realize it's so anxiety provoking, even to watch. I'm like, this is not a game for me. Um, and I so appreciate the spirit of the service. I really love the combination of water and then unearthing conflict. So I really like this. And I want to take a spot. I think that the experience for me of doing arts and aesthetics here has felt like a river of conflict. Like just many, many conflictual stones.
It can be so anxiety producing to be a part of it, to witness it. Jenga, but also, I mean, conflict.
Well, I'm scared. But there was a great deal of conflict over the bequest that came from Paul Berman and what would we do with that? And there have been some wonderful things that have come out of it, but there's still more room for movement.
Their heartbeat, the ticking their heartbeat. It's a super good spot, like right there. I also get to help you. Anybody else? Yeah.
I have two concerns, but unfortunately, they're both too emotional and both too conflicting to share at the moment.
Anybody else? So here's the thing. This is still pretty solid. And we can have conflict and we can air it and we can take a long time to work our way through it because not all of it is settled in 30 seconds and not all of it is solved in the telling of it. And I do, actually, though it's not in the Jenga rules, get to help you by seeing a wobbly tower and maybe putting my thumb to balance it out a little bit. Ideally, our congregational community, our covenant, is like this tower. It can be wobbly. Sometimes it seems scary to even try. But look how nifty it looks at the top. Look how solid it is at the bottom. My hope for us is that we continue to lean into, live into our covenant as a way to help us with conflict that is actually inevitable and hopefully healthy. And here I have done a thing. I said earlier that our covenant should be concise and clear and memorable. And so I have an offering for you. On your order of service, I have draft language for an updated covenant. I did run this past our Committee on Shared Ministry. This is an offering, it is not a mandate. You can take it or leave it or something else entirely. Inside your order of service, you see our very long current covenant. The graphic that you're looking at is a visual representation of the words in our covenant. I ran it through a word cloud app program. And so you're looking at that with respect right in the middle. That's what we already identified as how we want to be with each other. And so using the principles of brevity and concision, something that would help us to guide our own behavior, not police somebody else's. Something that pulls the words that we have already identified as ones that are important to us. I added conflict, though conflict, not surprisingly, actually does not appear in our current covenant. But I think it should, because I think central to our commitments with each other should be our commitment to addressing conflict together. And so, how does this sound to you? We covenant to nurture our community with care and respect for each other. We covenant to address conflict directly with honesty, love, and respect. My invitation is to sit with it for a while. How does it sound to you? How does it feel to you as a guide for how you can be here with others? Our Committee on Shared Ministry invites your feedback, and we will talk about it more, and we will talk about what to do, if anything, with this in the future. As we end our time here together, my next invitation is to sing from your teal hymnal, number 1064, Blue Boat Home. Please rise as you feel willing or able.
Oh, below me I feel my motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling oceans. Still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now. Never harbor nor port I have known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue border. Sun by sail and moon by rudder, as I ply the starry sea, the ancient wonder, casting questions into the deep. Drifting in with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens and our beautiful blue. I give thanks to the ways upon me. Hail the great winds urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me. sing the sky my sailor song. I was born upon the bounds, never harbor no portal, and the wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue home.
I hope you'll join us after for refreshments. Drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls. May we find this place to be our harbor and port. May we make this community our home in covenant and in love. We extinguish our chalice with the unison words in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please remain seated for our postlude, or be seated.
And the clicking has stopped.
In the middle of the night, I go walking in my sleep from the mountains of faith to a river so deep. I must be looking for something, something sacred I lost. But the river is wide and it's too hard to cross. And even though I know the river is wide, I walk down every evening and stand on the shore. Try to cross to the opposite side so I can finally find what I'm looking for. In the middle of the night, I go walking in my sleep through the valley of fear to a river so deep. I'm off searching for something taken out of my soul, something I never lose, something somebody stole. I don't know, I go walking at night, and now I'm tired, I don't want to walk anymore. Hope it doesn't take the rest of my life till I finally found what I've been looking for. In the middle of the night, I go walking in my sleep through the jungle of doubt to the river so deep. No one's searching for something, something so undefined. It can only be seen by the eyes of blind. In the middle of the, I go walking 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 in the middle of the night and walking in the middle of the. I'm not sure about a life after this, God knows. Never been a spiritual man. Baptized by the fire, wading to the river that runs to the promised land. In the middle of the night, I go walking in my sleep through the desert of truth to the river so deep. We all end in the ocean. We all start in the streams. We're all carried along by the river of dreams. In the middle of the night, I go walking in the, I go walking in the middle of the, I go walking in the middle of the night. I go walking I go walking in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night. In the middle of the night.